everyone. It's a beautiful, glorious day here in Melbourne, and you can probably see lots of sunshine beaming in on me at the moment. So welcome to our part 2 take off with 12-bar blues at the piano. Now, we're going to just recap from part 1. Okay, so let's just have a look. If you weren't here for part 1, we went through all of these things. We are going to go through a lot of these things again just to recap and move forward, okay? So just have a quick look at all of that from webinar 1, part 1. Okay, I'm really excited to present to you part 2. So our goals for tonight. Of course, recap from part 1, how to transpose to different keys. So we don't want to be stuck in the key of C. And of course, part 1 was all about playing the 12-bar blues in the key of C. We're going to move keys, transpose, and work out how easy it is to be able to go into other keys. Playing the 12-bar blues in G, the importance of, again, of singing, moving, and playing. Call and response technique and how important that technique is. Chords in the right hand. We're going to look at new rhythms and new voicings. So very exciting. I actually learned a lot of this back in the early 80s. Yes, I am very old. And I actually started by studying classical piano at Melbourne State College, and I was jazzing everything up. And I remember in my second year, my piano teacher said, I really think you should change and do the jazz strand. And I was very lucky that there was a jazz strand at Melbourne State College. And then I went on to do jazz courses, jazz camps, all kinds of things. We had a whole group of Americans, jazz Americans, Jamie Abersold. Some of you may know that name. He's put out lots and lots and lots of resources over many years, and I was lucky enough to work with him and some fantastic jazz educators and musicians from America. And so this is where I learned everything I'm going to be sharing with you tonight. So we're going to also be looking at a walking bass feel in the left hand, a 1-4-5 progression, how to work it out, how to play along with the backing track, a range of 12-bar blues songs, how to improvise, and it's easy, how to improvise over the blues and using various scales. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so first of all, how do we work out a 1-4-5 progression? I know many of you will know this, but I'm just going to go through this for people that perhaps don't know this and don't have a music background. It's very, very easy to work out, and it's very mathematical. So we know that the musical alphabet is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it repeats A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So if you equate that to numbers, A being 1, B, 2, C, 3, and so on, we work it out like that. So to work out a 1-4-5, it's as simple as the slide shows you. Wherever you start with a 1, and in this example it's G, you call that 1 A, because G is at the end of the musical alphabet, and then it starts at A again. So A is 2, B is 3, and then C is 4, D is 5. Now, of course, we have sharps and flats and all of that kind of thing. We're not going to get into that today. But by learning about the cycle of fifths, that answers all your questions in terms of, well, what do you do about sharps and flats? But we're not going to cover that tonight. However, when we're in the key of G, 1-4-5, it's really easy to work out. If we were in the key of A, same. A is 1, A, B, C, D, 4, E, 5. Okay, key of C, we've done that. All right, so we might stick to those keys. All right, how to transpose into different keys? Well, it's that simple, really, to just look at it as a mathematical equation, and every letter name on the piano, every note on the piano is equated to one number. And this is our 12-bar blues formula. It's a very simple 12-bar blues. There are many, many variations. Okay, so we're still sticking to the simple formula for the 12-bar blues. So there you see 3 different chords, mostly the green for G, is the one chord. There are only 3 4 chords and 1 5 chord. All right. So we're going to do a piece tonight called Catch That Jive. Some of you might know it. It's from a resource that Phil put together a few years ago called, funnily enough, Sing, Jam and Jive. And it's designed specifically to make teaching the 12-bar blues really, really accessible and inclusive for everyone. Okay, so hopefully you can see me quite clearly. Now, the importance of singing, moving and playing. I can't stress that enough. So if you are a piano studio teacher, an instrumental teacher of any kind, it's so important to sing and dance and move and play. All right, so the research tells us that the best way to learn is through movement. And so I'm going to start by clapping the rhythm. And this is a call and response, and the response is catch that jive. It's syncopated. Students don't even have to know that it's syncopated, but as long as you model it. So we're just going to start with the response. Catch that jive. Okay? I'm going to sing it this time. Catch that jive. Okay, so I want you just to sing that with me and clap that with me as I click on the off beats. Do-da, do-da. Catch that jive. Do-da, do-da. Catch that jive. Do-ba-da-ba-da. Catch that jive. Do-ba-da-da-da. Catch that jive. Do-ba-da-da-da. Catch that jive. Do-ba-da-da-da. Catch that jive. So it's that easy. The calls I've just sung, and there's a whole lot of words to go with that, but all you have to do is start by doing that. Now, you can also stand up and move on the catch that jive, do-ba-do-do-da, catch that jive. So I'm stamping. I could pat, catch that jive. I could do an action like this. Catch that jive, catch that jive, all of that kind of thing. Phil, there's lots of noises with people coming in that aren't muted. Okay, so movement, singing it all first, putting on a percussion instrument. Catch that jive, do-ba-do-do-da, catch that jive, do-ba-do-do-da, catch that jive, do-ba-do-do-da. Catch that jive. So you've got the idea. So the call and response. So make sure there's movement and singing before you even attempt to do any playing. Let's keep going. There is the call and response written out for you. At the very end of the 12 bars, we're going to change the response just slightly. So it is catch that jive or catch that jive. So it's going to be a sustained, long held note. Catch that jive. Okay. Here is the 12-bar blues, written out as letter names. And we're now going to look at the chords. Okay, so in the key of G, just doing a chord in root position, G, C, and D. Okay, so I'm just going to show you this next part, and then I will unshare the screen so you can see what I'm doing on the piano. Now, we're going to start this whole process, first of all, by just playing. I'm going to go back, actually, because we're not going to do that yet. We're just going to play our call and response. Okay, now, in terms of fingering, I'm using 4, 3, 4, or it could be 3, 2, 3. It could even be 2, 1, 2. It really doesn't matter. You could do it in the left hand as well. You could do both hands together. I get my beginner students to do this, but I'm also doing it with my more advanced students as well. All right, so it's play the jazzy music, catch that jive, any way you choose it. Catch that jive, feel the funky rhythm, catch that jive, now you're catch that jive. So just at the very end, you've got that D, okay? Very easy to play, can be done separately, hands together, doesn't matter. It can also be done on xylophones, glockenspiels, chime bars, all of those sorts of things. All right, so now we're up to the chords, okay. So I show my students the chords, and really, you know, even a beginner can pretty much manage to play these simple chords. They're the same shapes. I like 1, 3, and 5, but some students will do 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3. It really doesn't matter. Okay. Now we're going to play on every second beat. Do ba do da, catch that jive. Do ba do da, catch that jive. You've got the idea. All right. With the left hand, you can put just the beat together with octaves. And do ba do da, catch that jive. Do ba do da. Okay, pretty boring. So we really want to get into the nice spiciness of the blues. So that's where we go to the next slide, and we can have a look at that lovely bass line. So all it is making the root position chord into an arpeggio. Do ba do da, catch that jive. Do ba do da, catch that jive. Okay, so I'm going to put the two things together. I will just stop the share, and hopefully you'll be able to see how I play that. Here we go. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Play that dancing music, catch that jive. Any way you choose it, catch that jive. Feel the funky rhythm, catch that jive. Now you're really living, catch that jive. Move and groove your body, catch that jive. Come on everybody, catch that jive. Okay, I just put in a D7 chord right at the very end. You don't have to, but it's quite nice to put that in. Okay, so I'm going to just share the screen again so I can take you back to the slides. And here we are. Okay, so pretty easy. So we've got the response. We introduce the chords in the right hand. We introduce the walking bass in the left hand. Of course, it's up to the student, the individual, in terms of how much that student does and how much you do. But I'm always playing duets with the students. And also we're going to talk about the backing tracks as well for the student to practice at home. So there's just so many exciting things for the students to do these days, which weren't around, of course, when we were practicing as young children. All right, so here is the melody to Catch That Jive. Again, very syncopated rhythmically. However, that's what the blues and jazz is all about. There's lots and lots of rhythmical syncopation. It's easy to play. So I've got, you know, beginners playing this. And it sounds like this. Do, 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 catch that jive. Do, 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 do. Catch that jive, do, 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 catch that jive. Okay, so you will have some students that can play the melody at, well, both the call and response parts together. I have some students that play one and then they play the other, but they're not ready to put it together yet. So, you know, you've got all of these different levels, different levels. Now, in part one, we did a very similar second and fourth beat of each bar with the walking bass. Now, we're going to move beyond that tonight. And this is not for beginners, okay? but students that have been learning for a while, particularly teenagers, they will very quickly become interested and excited about these chords. So instead of just a root position, of course you can do inversions, but we are going to add, we're going to spice them up with sevenths and ninths. Okay, so what's a seventh? What's a G7? So when we play a major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we can number each note in the scale. The seventh, in this instance, when we have a G7th chord, it is the flattened seventh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got, there's the root position, triad, and then we add a seventh. So that's how we have a G7 chord. Now, to create a ninth chord, you have the sevenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, there's a ninth chord. It's all about how you voice the chords, okay? The combination of the notes together. That's what a chord voicing is. So let's have a look here. We've got G7. Now you'll notice that I'm playing a lot of the chords around middle C. That's where the chords sound really nice. You can also play them an octave up as well, but they sound really good around middle C. So there we've got the G7. We've got a C9 chord. We've got a D9 chord. Okay, so suddenly you've got these beautiful, I call them spicy, delicious sounds. Just like if you've got that pot of soup and you're putting all kinds of herbs and spices in, so really to make it delicious and spicy. Not that I'm a spicy person, but I know there's a lot of people out there that are. I'm going to share the screen so I can play this for you. Okay, with these chord voicings, the seventh and the ninth chords. Okay, here we go. Play the jazzy music, catch the jive, any way you choose it, catch the jive, move and move your body, catch the jive, come on everybody, catch the jive, do-ba-dum-ba-dum, catch that jive, do-be-do-do-do, catch that jive. I'm going to now, rather than have the response, I'm going to keep it all going, okay, for flow effect. Here we go. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Play the jazzy music, catch that jive, any way you choose it, catch that jive, feel the funky rhythm, catch that jive, now you're ready, catch that jive, move and move your body, catch that jive, come on everybody, catch that jive. Sounds nice, up the octave too. A different kind of bass line that you can do in the left hand. So we've been doing this all the way through, which is really great, okay? We are echoing the role of the string bass or the bass guitar in the blues and jazz band, okay? So that's what our left hand's doing here. So this is a very common bass line that the bass guitar or the string bass will play. Here's another one. It's a descending bass and it's actually on a slide, so it'll be in your notes. Goes like this. And there's many variations. So I'm just doing a descending line here. Hope you can see me. With the right hand. So, pretty nice. I've got a few here, and I've put some in your notes. So here's some that you will be familiar with. The speed is going to be a lot faster. Okay, let's see. 1, 2. We're down in Louisiana, across from New Orleans, out of Mississippi, in the Everglades. In a log cabin made of stone and wood, lives a country boy named Johnny B. Good. Never could learn to read or write so well, but he could play guitar just like a ring in a bell. I said, go, go, Johnny, go, go, go. 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 Johnny, be good. Hey. There's also, you ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. Okay. We've also got Tutti Frutti, Rudy, Tutti Frutti, Rudy. So I'll come back to a couple of those. Let's just share the screen again. Here we go. And we'll just have a look at what we've covered so far. Okay, so there's the right hand chords. Here are the left hand walking descending bass lines. Now, this is a very simple descending bass line. So if it's G chord, C chord, D chord, and back to C chord and so on. You can add all kinds of things, so there's lots and lots of variations, but in essence, these are really spicy, delicious, lovely bass lines that you can play with 12-bar blues songs, and there's literally hundreds and thousands of these songs. All right, so what is the process? Let's have a look at the process. So first of all, I really believe in using some of these fantastic Orff techniques. We talked about Orff Schulwerk in part 1 and how it is a multimodal and a multi-sensory approach to teaching and learning. And I believe it's the best way to learn. So using your ears, using your eyes, using your body. So multi-sensory, multimodal, all of those things, really engaging your student through a number of different ways to learn. So singing, body percussion, playing other instruments. So really having all those fireworks go off in the brain. So that's what this approach does. It really gets all the fireworks firing between body and brain. Okay, so playing response in right hand, left hand, both hands, playing chords, playing walking bass, both hands. I do want to just talk about iReal Pro again. Just turn my speaker on. And here is blues simple, and this time it's in the key of G, and just have a listen. What a great way to practice at home with this app. We'll do some improvisation with it in just a little while. All right, so there's just a selection of songs that you can find on YouTube and on the internet. You can find the words and you can play along with this. Okay, let's get to improvisation. So we've got a blues scale, and this is G blues. I'm using chromatic fingering, 1 3 1 3 1 3 4, 1 3 1 3 1 3 4. So that's how you can go up and down with the chromatic fingering. And this, for this seminar, or for this webinar, I should say, I have found a rhyme that many of you will remember. If you're nearly as old as me, you will remember Billy Thorpe. Well, it was actually written by Gene Vincent, but Billy Thorpe made it really famous in Australia back in the 60s, 70s. Bebop Baluba, but we're just going to take the words. So, and we're going to swing it. So, bebop-a-lula, she's my baby. Bebop-a-lula, I don't mean maybe. Bebop-a-lula, she's my baby. Bebop-a-lula, I don't mean maybe. Bebop-a-luba, she is my baby now. Okay, so we take that and then using some of these ingredients from the improvisation pot, which we talked about in part 1, little repetitions, rhythms, long and short notes, dynamics, tempo, and so on, we're going to use some scale fragments. So exactly the same process that we did in part 1. We're going to take the first 3 notes of the G blues scale, that's all. And we're going to put it in any order, composing a melody using the rhythm from bebop-a-luba. So 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4, bebop-a-luba, she's my baby. Bebop-a-luba, I don't mean maybe, and so on, okay? You got the idea? That's really, really important because what I've learned over many years of teaching is that both children and adults don't have these rhythms inside their head. It's all very well to give them a melody, 3 notes, 4 notes, 5 notes, but they often can't piece it together rhythmically. So by giving them a rhyme, it just anchors the learning. So we do that, then the second or the last 3 notes of the blues scale, same principle. Bebop-a-luba, she's my baby. Bebop-a-luba, I don't mean maybe. Okay, and then we can combine them. And of course, we have the connecting note, which is the C sharp. So with my blues on iReal Pro, which is the app that I'm using on my iPad, I'm going to play for you some improvisation using pretty much bebop-a-luba. I might put a few extra little things in it rhythmically and melodically. You never know what's going to happen when I play. So let's stop the share and I'll just give you a little bit of a demonstration. Okay, here we go. Okay. We'll just start that again. Into a little riff where you keep repeating it, okay, if you really like something. So it's just a matter of experimenting and exploring, okay, and that's what you've got to do. If you want to get really good at improvisation, you've got to sit and just play a lot. Okay, I'm not going to share the screen because I've got one more slide and it's showing you how you can improvise over the E-La pentatonic scale. So E is the relative minor of G. So we can actually take those notes and improvise over the G blues. And also we can add a B flat, which spices it up. So you've got... So I'll just, I'll give you a little demo of that and we'll put the track on. examples of the sorts of scales that you can use to improvise over the top of the 12-bar blues. All right, I'm going to share the screen now, and I think it's going to be almost time for some questions. So here we have the E-bar pentatonic scale over the 12-bar blues, and of course using the same, exactly the same principles. So splitting it up if you need to into two parts, giving the student a rhyme if they need that, and then being able to put it all together.